The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the host/guest and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any of BXR entities and those they represent.
It's the same thing every week.
Look, I'm over this fucking virtual stuff, so I'm just hanging on. So I don't want to hear no complaints. But I am here. I'm your host, Nate Couser. Today we'll have a bunch of events that's going on in the city. Well, two major events that's happening this weekend and next weekend. School's out for the summer. Well, regular school is out for the summer, but I'll be doing a jewelry camp this summer, helping young people learn the art and craft of designing jewelry, the business of jewelry, so on and so forth. And then at the end of the summer in August, I'll be a part of Baltimore Fashion Week. That is August. My date will be August the 15th, and a link will be out shortly in terms of how you can buy tickets. I believe my night is $40 per person. So come on out, support Baltimore Fashion Week. It is a great day. I'm on Monday, the August the 15th, in the Off the Rack section with some emerging artists. And then we have a number of other designers that are going to be exhibiting that week leading up to that. And then there's some activities, so on and so forth. So I'm excited. I'm actually tired. I thought I would be less tired because I didn't have to go to school the last 2 days. But beyond that, I am creating. If you go to my Instagram page or Facebook page for either the Artist Exchange or Vashti Blue Jewelry Studio, we've updated the name. So Vashti Blue Jewelry Studio, you'll see a number of things that I am getting into and designing and so on and so forth. So I'm really excited. I'm trying to set up my little space so I can have a permanent space when I do go live. But yes, so yes, I've gotten so much rest in the last 2 days. And I don't believe in catching up on sleep because I don't believe that's a real thing. I just think you can get the rest that is necessary and needed. And I'm really I feel well rested. I think I got a really good night's sleep last night, even though I got in a little late. I've been at the studio the last couple of nights, or this week, so forth, working on some of my jewelry. Hopefully, so if you are interested in either interning or doing a work exchange here at the studio, hit me up at the Artist Exchange Radio Show at gmail.com. Because it's about that time where I'm gonna need some support because I'm planning a lot of events. I have a vendor artist pop-up series starting at another location. That information will be out soon. So if you're a vendor or artist, you can also hit me up on our social media as well. Also, I should be sending this out when I'm talking. Yeah, so I am excited for that. And I'm just, So my recap from this previous school year, the lesson that I normally do a lesson kind of a talk back at the end of every school year, but um, I think it was really rough this year. So I talked throughout the school year, but I'm really kind of a little devastated over how a lot of people have been treating the school system, both on the side of parents, student, faculty, and staff alike. And I'm seeing a lot of things that I don't like. At the end of every year, there is a survey. Hey, Digger, there's a survey that many of the faculty take in terms of the therapists that we have, and we do these surveys, and it was just disheartening to grade. Well, you're not really grading; it's like a scale, and you like certain things. Certain students who may have certain issues. They like to at the end of the year. They do it throughout the year, but at the end of the year, it's kind of like a summation of the year. And some of the students didn't do too well. It was only certain students who had behavioral issues or severe learning disabilities that may be contributing to behavior, environment, so on and so forth. But um, yeah, I'm really in a different space with the educational system in terms of even me thinking about moving forward with it or what should I do in terms of coming back next year. I've been asked to come back to my school next year, and I'm in a different space with it. I don't know. Typically, I'd be like no, and I mean no, and or I'm just ready to get through the summer and then I go back to school. But this year was different. I think the group of students that I work with this school year was a little different. I had some different encounters with faculty and staff, um, and just in a space of just really understanding what is it that I want, and not just doing things for the sake of paying bills or um, none of that. So I'm really just being different right now and more intentional with my um, choices. And the school system is just not in a space right now where I feel it is safe to be um, black and male or a progressive type of person that I am, where I want things. I'm really an idealist where I believe that you know people can, if we work together, then we can make a lot of things happen. If parents work with students, who work with teachers, who work with support staff, we can really turn around. But it's a lot of people in power and people who feel like they're not in power who are doing a lot of things to damage just the look of um, school, um, teaching, education, and there's a lot of politics that goes in it, whether it be on the side of the teachers union or on the side of the upper supervision, management, leadership of the school system. So it's a lot. It is definitely it's something I have to think about. But today I wanted to do some highlights because as the world is slowly opening up and you may think that it's opening, but things are still on a steady pace because being in the school system, that's something else that I discovered. Also, COVID is still very much so a real thing. On a weekly basis, students and staff and teachers and faculty were getting sick, having to stay home. There have been some deaths. Teachers died. Students, I didn't hear as much about students dying as I did about adults. But again, you can never trust um, polls and data because it's skewed based off of what people want the outcomes to be. And I think right now people are just over the pandemic, so numbers are definitely skewed in that direction to support people wanting to get back out. And I'm telling people, continue to wear your mask. I've lightened up in certain situations. So it definitely is a by ear situation. If it's large groups, either I have a tendency of going to more outside events or smaller venue type of events where I know a lot of the people. And that makes a difference because people habits, people ways of doing things. And I'm definitely fully vaccinated. Um, I've been thinking about getting a second booster shot, but I don't know because I didn't do well when I got my first round of shots. So I don't know about going back for an additional booster shot yet. Um, an additional booster shot. I don't really know right now because I felt a little wonky um, after getting each of my shots. So I don't really know where I want to go yet with that. Um, there's some spotlights. There's been this, you see it being pushed or promoted, or people talking about it, and then you hearing over here that it's not happening and it's going back and forth. But Artscape, I just saw, I Googled it and looking it up on the calendar on the city's website to see if it's on there. And I saw it on the calendar, but I've been being told that it's being canceled this year. It was supposed to be in August. So I don't know. I'll continue to do some research on it as we move along. But Airframe this year is going off about a hitch, and it's I believe it's June 18th and 19th. So this Saturday and Sunday at Drew Hill Park. They put it back in Drew Hill Park. That this festival has moved around so much, and a lot of emphasis has been taken off of it in terms of budgeting and just priority. But it looks like the city and Mayor Brandon Scott, pushing it in a different way. So thank you to everyone for bringing it back and putting it back in a suitable space, Drew Park. And it's a huge space. They have a really great lineup on the 18th. In terms of headliners, on the 18th, we'll have Neo, Young Blue. I don't know who that is. It might be a young rapper. He looks like a rapper. So he'll be on the 18th as well. Anaya, I think I've heard her music. She'll be on the stage. Rotimi, I believe he was from Power. He'll also be joining us on the 19th. Also on the 19th, Miss Leandria Johnson and Elder Barge. They went back and pulled out some old school players. Mr. Elder Barge and the OJs will be here. My grandma would have loved the two of them. So it looks like Airframe is going on this weekend. Again, it has not been a big push. I see a lot of marketing online, but it hasn't been a big push. And that's, I know a lot of times we say that, but I think a lot of us don't watch TV the way we used to. So I'm sure they mentioned it on the news. I'm not a big news watcher. If you saw it, Monty, let me know or correct me. But I didn't. I know you normally see banners around the city, um, and I'm sure up in that Park Heights area, you see the banners are up. They normally have banners in that area, but I haven't seen a big citywide push of AirFrame this year. But it looks like they are definitely preparing for it.
No, I haven't seen much on Artscape either. But yeah, I knew about all those people that were going to be there just because,
AirFrame?
Yeah,
Mm.
it's always on my list to check for it. But I haven't seen much around the city as far as promotions. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't live too far from the park, so I may go up there.
I plan on going, especially on Sunday, because I want to see Leandria.
Yeah, Leandria, Elder Barge, and Couser to be there. And what's his name, Rotimi. I've never seen him perform before, so
Got to be packed on Sunday because Sunday is also a church day. So A lot of those people that's gonna be from church is gonna be there to see Leandria.
Yeah, Leandria. And the Elder Barge and the OJs, I think they'll bring out a
I mean,
crowd.
yeah. I'm just speaking,
Yeah.
specifically
Just
on
for
the
the
church
gospel
crowd.
crowd. Well,
What time? I don't know what time she
Leandria
performing though, because it
Church,
might be after church.
it's probably midday. They normally, start opening the park around like 11 to 12, no matter where it is. And then it's open until like 6 to 7. So it might be around it might be like 2, 3 when she goes on. But I want to see Elder Barge. I'm an OJ's fan, but I think I like the Elder Barge a little bit better. Also, in addition to Ephraim, Baltimore Gay Pride, there's some events that are starting this weekend, but it goes into next weekend, and they have a really lineup of good lineup of people, I may say. So I'm trying to pull that up now. I know I saw Trina um, at the top of the list. Oh, I know I saw Trina at the top of that list. Yeah, Trina. What's the young man that won The Voice? He'll be there. Who is this? I guess that's a drag queen. The headliners will be Trina, Kiki Wyatt, Avery Wilson. I know that's gonna be fine. Davon Fleming, that's the young man who won The Voice. Elizabeth Vaughn Presley, I believe that's a drag queen. George Lovitz, Maya, okay, Rose, and DDM will be the headliners for this year's Gay Pride. Um, I'm shocked at this Trina announcement, but go ahead, Trina, Kiki Wyatt, Avery Wilson. I can't wait for this DDM. So Kiki Wyatt is Saturday the 25th. Trina is also Saturday the 25th. Avery Wilson is Sunday, June the 26th. Maya is also June the 26th. DDM is Saturday the 25th. George Lovett is Sunday, June the 26th. Mr. Davon Fleming, aka the man who took all the money for that musical program that we never got, that choir, we never got it. Davon Fleming is Saturday the 25th. And then Miss Elizabeth Vaughn Presley will be Sunday the 26th. And then there's supposed to be a Baltimore Pride cruise. You going on a cruise, Marnie? You want to go on a cruise? Let me see when the cruise is.
I want to say you just called me a faggot, and I want you to tread lightly, okay?
You could be an ally. I didn't say that. I feel like I'm an ally. How much are the tickets?
I want you to tread lightly.
June the 26th. Okay, I'm not an ally. June the 26th, the Baltimore Inner Harbor. I think that's the Spirit Cruises from 11:30 That's a long ass cruise. 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's long. That's long. Yeah, that's long. Let me see how much these tickets are, because they be playing $100. I don't think we're going. Let me see if there are some levels. Nope, no levels. They all 10509. I don't know about that. Yeah, but and they changed their name. They've rebranded themselves. I am friends with the operations manager, Mr. Kenneth. Say something, poet. And he was telling me a little bit about them rebranding themselves. So they're
By the way, Artscape moves to the website says it's moving to September.
Saying it was supposed to be canceled. Who could go to Artscape in September?
It'll be cooler. That's what I am sure. Hopefully.
Hopefully, right. Hopefully it's cool. Because it'd be slavery. Well, it hasn't even been that high in the last couple of years of it.
Yeah,
Well,
last
high as
year.
the prom. I mean,
Did it
prom.
happen last year? I don't think it happened last year, but
It
the year
didn't.
prior,
No, it
not
was
even
steady for the
2020,
last 2 years.
2019, it was super hot.
Hmm. But it also keep raining too.
Hmm.
It'll be it. Well, you used to it being hot during Artscape, but it kept having these like horrible thunderstorms where they would have to close down for a day or two. So the last couple of years prior to the pandemic, they've had to close down a couple of days because of so much rain. So hopefully putting it in September makes a difference. But oh, that's gonna be a stretch because that's the beginning of the school year. Oh, oh no. Well, I'm gonna read up on it and see what things they have. If they have any things for artists, and because typically they, promote to they use the same group of local artists every year, and they kind of focus their attentions on people who are coming from other places. So I'll see what they have in store. And me being here, we're right here on the road for Artscape. So I'm really excited. I wonder if it's going to be as big as it's gotten because of it, but I don't know what space it's going to be like. What have I been doing the last couple of days? I've discovered a couple different podcasts. One of my newest favorite podcasts is well, let me say something about podcasts. Um, there's a lot of them. There's a whole lot of podcasts. And there's a lot of podcasts that are just hateful to certain groups of people, whether it be men or black people or different people, or it's just a lot. But my new favorite one is Don't Call Me White Girl. She is hilarious. This young lady is the one who coined the term uh uh what is it? What did she say? You being weird to me. So that young lady, and then she has another viral saying where it says something about I get robbed from the time I wake up to the time I close my eyes. Something about my coochie being good. I fried chicken was good the first time. She's gone viral, and we just know her voice, but I've been able to see her face and watch her in person. But she is definitely hilarious. Her podcast, and typically when people go viral, they're not necessarily a talented individuals, but she does over um, match my expectations based off of what I heard because she kept having these viral moments. But I wanted to bring up something interesting that I learned in watching, kind of binge watching all her episodes up until this point. And she was making mention, and this happened to me. I don't think it's happened to be exposed before. The other station that I was working with in Atlanta, it has happened to them on Twitter. It has happened to me on Instagram. Like literally, my radio show page, I could not post on it I just got it back up and running in I want to say the end of April, and I have not been able to use it since Thanksgiving, like post to it. And it was a very weird thing because if I logged on another device, I was able to use it, but my regular phone, I wasn't able to use it. But she brought up a topic because for her, she was starting to go viral. So she was able to start making money because she had reached certain thresholds on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and it kept shutting down her pages. And a number, and specifically Black creatives on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube are complaining about their pages or their platforms being demonetized or fraud, what seems to be or appears to be fraudulently being hacked or taken over or just erased. And there are no response when you contact Facebook or Twitter, even on their level, there's nobody to talk to. and you you go through all these things where you're emailing and they send you these automated responses where you got to go through all these steps and checklists and go here and email, click on this link. And it seems to be only happening to a lot of Black uh, creatives on or social influencers on social media, or just people, Black people in general. I've heard a lot of people complain about their pages. Now, this is a separate issue from your auntie sending you spam and you clicking on it and your page getting hacked. But there, I've noticed over the course, and it may be connected or not, but I've noticed a uptick, a huge uptick of these people, these what you call spammers, calling you and emailing you and messaging you, more so than ever before. Like I at least get maybe 6 or 7 calls a day. If I'm not getting something in my inbox, I just recognize the WhatsApp scam because I was starting to get messages on WhatsApp, and I only talk to maybe one person on WhatsApp. But I was starting to get all of these messages and all of this, these um, spams, and it just seems like it's just constant. And I know for me as a business owner, my phone number, well, that business phone number is out there. My email addresses are out there, so my emails look like yikes. I'm looking for an intern now specifically to clean out my message boxes because I don't want to. I'm updating my website and creating and updating the other website and combining my other websites. And it is now going to be one big website. So as I'm doing that, I'm setting up the email addresses for that. And I don't want to carry that foolishness over here. So I've been going through slowly but surely blocking and pushing stuff to the side. And it's a lot. And I'm trying to get all that stuff out. But if you have been a victim of this, if your page has been shut down and such, the website artscape.org says it's moving to September. Okay. So yeah, I'm trying to figure that out because that I used to get blocked several times, and I don't know why that was happening. But my page will be I would be put in Facebook jail a lot. And this recently with Instagram not being able to post to my regular page it was really annoying because I kept having to log in on my tablet, which I don't like to do because I like being only on one thing. So I only have it open on my phone now. I don't have it opened up on my computer anymore because I do so much streaming and I do the show, and I don't want to use my laptop for everything anymore. So I'm only open on my phone for social media sites. But yeah, it's a lot going on. Also coming up on the 25th is Black to the Future event, and I'm really excited about this one because my friend Nicole is the facilitator, and I booked all of the guest um, facilitators for this event. And this event was started basically with my frustration over this abundance of new businesses starting, not hating on the new businesses, but really frustrated over the lack of customer service and etiquette that was happening. I saw all these beauty shops opening up with these crazy, ridiculous um, demands. Now, so Marnie, quickly, I know you did hair correctly, correct? Are you there, Marnie?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So did you do hair or was it nails that you did?
Both.
So is it customary to make your customers wash, shampoo, conditioner, blow dry, and braid their hair or blow out their hair before they come to you?
No.
So that is
That's
now
not a standard. No.
It's now becoming a new standard now.
No, because to be a hair technician, to do the art of hair is to take care of the hair from the root to the ends.
And that includes cleaning it.
That includes cleaning it. That includes cleaning it, moisturizing it, greasing it, oiling it, and making sure it's a well-conditioned hair.
So and what is happening with a number of these new...
You're not just a dresser. You're not a hairdresser. That was the term from the past. You are a hair technician, which means your job is to make sure that hair grows and can be maintained.
But even then, as a hairdresser, you still...
But that was never a term. That's what I'm saying. Hairdresser was never a term.
Okay.
That was something we made up for at home. I'm going to my hairdresser's house. But that's not the technical term for a cosmetologist. The cosmetologist, you are a hair technician.
Now, my only experience with hair salons was when I was getting my hair braided or twisted or locked. And I never was asked to wash my own hair, blow dry my own hair, and comb.
So the only difference in that is that you used to request that for a barber would requested of their customers that your hair is already pre-washed.
But even for me, and I guess because I only ever went to women barbers, and I did go to men barbers every now and again. Like my barber now is a male. He's actually Ethiopian. He washes my hair before he cuts my hair. Now I know that wasn't always typical, but you used to be able to ask, could they wash your hair?
Yeah, and they will tell you that we don't have the facilities to wash hair. That's why we ask you to come with your hair already pre-cleaned. Because if your hair is dirty, they're not going to cut your hair. If you flaking, they're not going to cut your hair. If they see presence of dandruff that is impacted, they're not going to wash. They're not going to cut your hair because that affects their tools.
Yeah.
Barbicide does a lot, but it's not going to do a lot to clean.
Yeah, but I guess because of the barbershops I went to, I always got my hair washed. One of my barbers, she used to wash my hair before, and she would wash my hair after
to clean the hair off.
Right, she just did that for all her customers, like you said, because she wanted to maintain the longevity of her tools, and that was always her statement. Like she would pluck my ingrown hairs out. She would, I never had dandruff like that. I didn't have that problem, and I always would take a shower and wash my hair before I went, but it was never customary. So I'm noticing that is now part of, the list of demands. You got to put down a deposit before you come and get your hair done. You got to bring your own, not all your own products, but if you're getting hair put in, you got to bring your own hair. I knew that was, in many cases, that sometimes was if you wanted a certain type of hair, you would have to bring your own. Otherwise, you would have to do more. But it's more if you use their hair. It's more if you have. So these are all upcharges if they have to do it. So if they will have to wash your hair, if they have to braid your hair, if you're getting, extensions or something like that in there, that's an upcharge. And I just was going through shops, looking at their, scheduler, and this was a list of things that you had to do, or you would be charged in addition to doing so. My friend just she was going to her regular beautician, and she hadn't been in a couple months because of pandemic, and her prices had hiked up, and she ended up being charged $500 for what she used to pay I think she said $250 for, and that was her getting her extensions put in. She used the girl's hair. She didn't come washed and blow dried. And I was like, "You paid that?" She was like, "Well, I really didn't have a choice because she had already did my hair." And I was like, "Oh." So this seems to be, and even on the side of the barbers are now being very exclusive. You can't just walk into a barber shop anymore unless you want to get the dude who just started who don't have any clients. And that person even is being, I don't have an appointment until next Tuesday or something. And the price for a barbershop has gone up. So the barber I typically go to, I've been paying the same amount forever, and I tip him. Um, but I typically only get my hair cut once a month, and then I maintain it throughout the month. So I'll cut it, I'll shave my head bald in between, but then once a month I'll have it done where it's freshly done, and then I can just maintain it throughout the whole rest of the month. And that's just my way. But I've heard barbers charging as much as $75, $80 for a bald head and a beard trimmer. And they're adding all these bells and whistles where you get the massage. And I like those things, but they should be an addition. A lot of people are making these luxury choices a part of their standard practices, making them, a little bit more costly. And then a lot of barbers and beauticians are moving to these suite platforms, meaning they were in a barbershop with a number of other people, but now the barbershop has been cut up into these little suites where they have their own room and so on and so forth. But some of the stuff that I'm listening to is ridiculous in terms of pricing. And I hate it on social media when you go through and you see the sound effect along with it, where it say the price is the price, or just say you broke, come back when you got the money. Like, it's just, and I understand inflation being a certain thing, but I recall during the pandemic, to get your hair cut, to get your nails done, to get a pedicure, to get your everything, they would charge so much money because these musicians started coming out to people. But they would cost so much. I wanted a pedicure so bad for my birthday last year, and I couldn't find anybody that would be willing to come to my studio space here and do it that was vaccinated, that had proof of their vaccination, that was not charging under $120 for manicure and pedicure. And I just was like, and a manicure pedicure is typically you'll spend maybe $60, maybe $70, depending on where you go. But $120, it was like, I ain't about that life. So I went and got my own stuff, my own spa, all those things. And I should have did that. My mother always told me to go get my own and don't, stop paying those full prices. Because she does the same thing. She'll go maybe once a month or something like that, and then maintain it herself. But it's really been annoying with the price hikes. Have you noticed, Marnie, any price hikes with some of the things that you do on a daily basis, other than the grocery store, of course?
And gas.
And gas, yeah.
Airfare.
Oh, fuck that. No, fuck that. No.
Which is interesting. Let me explain though. Why? Because I don't go to, outside. I only go to the Dominican. That's my home. That's my second home. Actually, I call it my first. Here, this is my second home. I don't want to be here. So I was just telling you that I'm going to the Cayman Islands next month, right? What's so interesting is that it's probably the same distance from here to the Cayman Islands as it is here to the Dominican, right?
Right.
$1,000 to go to the Dominican, airfare alone, right? $400 to go to the Grand Cayman Islands. See the difference?
Yeah.
And the only difference is that there is a stop in between going from here to the Caymans. We got to stop in Florida.
Now, is that,
and then take another flight to get to the
Caymans?
That
$1,000 is not a round trip ticket, though.
It is round trip.
Okay.
And it was $416 round trip to go to the Caymans, which is why we decided to go to the Caymans.
Yeah.
And I think that's ridiculous. Like, it's how you charge $1,000 to go to an island that is worth 40% of our dollar.
I would prefer the Cayman Islands anyway. I think you would like the Cayman Islands. Have you been before?
I've never been before. This will be my first time. I
think you would like that a little bit more than.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, everything is reasonable. I mean, we got this trip for about, I want to say $800 per person, and it's 3 hours. So
Is it all inclusive?
No.
Okay.
Nothing really in the Caymans is all inclusive. They don't have that kind of situation because, you know, they just opened up the Grand Cayman to travel, you know, to tourists like that. Right. Remember, the Cayman Islands used to be a tax shelter. You bring your money there to hide it from the taxes.
Yeah, but it's because of that. It's also a very beautiful place.
It is.
And I'm not saying that the DR doesn't have much to do, but it just, for me, I like that a little bit more. If I'm gonna be on a resort, I just want to feel normal. I don't want to feel like I'm in this box the whole time. So unless I'm in Jamaica.
But see, you know, I know now, you know, from my excursions to the Dominican, I know a lot of people, so it's more like home to me than any place else. When now I'm going to the Caymans, I'm gonna be a tourist. When I go to the Dominican, I don't feel like a tourist.
You gonna feel safer though. Is this gonna feel?
Well, I don't have a sense of not feeling safe. When I first started going to the Dominican, I did that. I had that feeling. Now that I know people and I know my way around, they know me. When I come there, they see me. They be like, "Oh, I remember you." You know, now it's not that sense of urgency or safety.
Compared to going to say Jamaica or Mexico, you're gonna even the DR is maybe like number 3. I would feel more. I just felt safer. I just felt safer.
Like I probably would feel totally comfortable in Puerto Rico. Because that's. You know, I ain't even need a passport to get in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to like, you know, the Grand Cayman, I know that experience is a lot different because the Cayman Islands is more Americanized because of the wealth.
Right.
Like if people don't really understand, the Grand Cayman Islands is like if it's not the richest island in the Caribbean, it's one of the top because of that tax sheltering, you know, what it used to be considered the tax shelter of the world, besides Switzerland.
I mean, it's nice. It's nice.
Everybody went and took their billions and billions of dollars and would put it in the Cayman Islands to hide their money.
Yeah. I went to a wedding there. It was really. I used to love Hawaii, but under St. Lucia, I would say the Cayman. Yeah, I would like that. Again, I couldn't live there, but. In terms of traveling, so I have maybe three credits. I was supposed to be on a tour for theater, and then I had planned something that first year pandemic. I had pre-planned that, and then I had pre-planned something for Christmas of that year as well. So I have these 3 credits that I have to hurry up and use by September. Or I have to, they go charge me to refund. But I was planning a trip for next year. And I was planning to go, you know, I normally go to New Orleans for Christmas. I like to go around at Christmas time because the weather is better. A round trip, you normally can find a cheap ticket for maybe $150 both ways or $120 both ways. A round trip ticket from here to New Orleans was nearly $700. And I'm not about that life. There's nothing in New Orleans. There's something that I want there, but there's nothing in New Orleans that's going to ever make me pay $700 to get there. I'm not doing it. And then I was looking at other places. So for my 40th birthday, I want to go to South Africa. When I say from here, I like to do the package deal. So the package deal would have been $4,800 just to get there. In like a subpar hotel, very subpar, which is dangerous to even think of a subpar hotel in another country, but I couldn't do it. I don't know how, and everything is being blamed on inflation, but more importantly, the gas prices. And I just think it's ridiculous, especially if your tickets went from pennies. And Well, you couldn't book out stuff for so far when they dropped the ticket prices drastically. They will put a cap on how far out you could plan something because the tickets were so cheap. But the price of everything right now was totally ridiculous in terms of. I was shocked that you just said your tickets were just $1,000 round trip because a lot of tickets were that one way. Like even going to Atlanta or going to California, like hot spots that are typically New Orleans, Florida, the ticket prices were so astronomical. So for something is probably they probably really trying hard to get their tourist dollars back up if it was that cheap because that was.
Yeah, but they couldn't. I mean, they also couldn't justify any higher pricing on a 9-hour flight because of the layover. Like it's an hour to get to Florida. From here to Florida is an hour. Then the rest of it is a big chunk. It's a layover between you sitting in Florida for a long period of time, and then you take the other leg of the flight, which is another hour and 45 minutes. So to justify that, they couldn't even raise the price no higher because we sitting idle for a good 3 hours.
Right.
Because it's an hour to get to Florida and an hour and 45 minutes. That's just 3 hours. The other 6 hours is you waiting.
So yeah,
I think it's worth it for $416 compared to looking at other flights that are costing $1,000 for 3 hours.
Yeah.
If you really want to get away, then the Cayman Islands is where to go. I don't know. Now the thing about it is we don't know what we're gonna be doing when we get there. What's going to be open? Like they got snorkeling. That's the one thing we can see that was available. Is snorkeling with the sea turtles, snorkeling with the stingrays, and then restaurants.
What resort are y'all staying on?
We did a VRBO.
Oh, that's like an Airbnb.
Yeah. So we rented somebody's condo.
Okay, cool. I just
which was a lot cheaper than the hotels. The hotels are ridiculous.
No. But the Airbnbs that's the new standard.
Yeah, especially when they're not. It was ridiculous because there is no all inclusive there, and it was still ridiculous. They priced them out like that, like $300 a night, and you don't get to eat.
Well, because nobody, not even a continental breakfast.
Not a continental breakfast. Not even a breakfast.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
And we were trying to stay at the Ritz-Carlton. That ended up the Ritz-Carlton ended up being $1,900. I was like, oh, we got to find something else different because we get to put this money into the food.
I would hate for y'all to go down there and be hungry.
That's what I say. I mean, because all right, let me just tell it. Bougie meets me. They were so stuck on taking pictures for social media. Not that that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing if that's what you do. I was like, well, you trying to stay in the Ritz-Carlton, then you need to just go to the Ritz-Carlton, take pictures, and tell them that you was in the Grand. Right. Go to the Baltimore Ritz-Carlton and take pictures of the inside, and then make that trip. Because
I went to a spa there. I got treated to a spa there. That's right on Key Highway, right off of Key Highway.
I'm not pressed about taking pictures in the hotel room. Take pictures at the beach is what we need to be talking about. Or take pictures in public. I ain't worried about the hotel rooms. They look identical here.
Right. Right. So somebody looking at a picture, they all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You talking about taking pictures in this hotel room just because you can see the ocean from that window? Go outside. I don't care about the decor of the hotel. You can't take that back home with you.
As long as it ain't no bed bugs.
Exactly.
As long as it ain't no bed bugs.
And then that's when I was like, well, then I think we should just get a Verbo or Airbnb, and I think we'd be better off because we can look for the deck. If decor is your issue, then look for the decoration in somebody's home.
Yeah. There's a lot of those companies starting to pop up now too. It's one for Black travelers.
And then you can get deals on those sites when hotels book their own rooms up there when they got overflows.
And that's one of the reasons why hotel rooms are so high now, because people are choosing to use Airbnbs instead. I know I've had not so good experiences with Airbnb, but I've had way better pricing experiences with Airbnb.
Right, because the only thing you should be really looking for is a bed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, for me, it just got to be safe. I want to make sure it's in a safe neighborhood. It's not like I like to use Airbnbs in New York because you can stay closer to the city when you do that. You can stay in the city because they have a lot
only
of.
use the Airbnb and Verbos. If I'm not going to stay in a hotel and I'm going to use an Airbnb or a Verbo, I tend to look for mansions. Because if I'm going to do this, I want to do this and be very comfortable.
Right.
And feel like I've made a journey somewhere.
Right. So I have to.
When we was first checking, she kept asking me, like, why do you keep looking for all these big giant houses? Because what else chance do I have?
Oh, she wanted to share rooms?
Right. I'm not sleeping in a room with you and your fiance. No.
Yeah, so I have to think about another alternative to my 40th birthday because I just don't. I'm not paying $4,800, and the closer you get to it, the more it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I just don't. I may go to Europe. My friend Kyle, he lives in London now, so I may go see him for my 40th birthday instead because I just don't see. And you can really go. You can catch a train all around Europe the way they have it situated. So I may be in Europe instead of Africa, which is crazy to me, but yeah. Because there's places now they said you should not go to Nigeria right now. Maybe Ghana or Liberia, but definitely not Nigeria because you're gonna get scammed likely heavy. The other thing I wanted to talk about was so I guess you've been watching the trial, the hearing rather, for January the 6th. Do you think anything is going to happen to Trump?
I've been in and out. That's why I haven't been covering it no more because it was quite boring.
Who were on this? I mean, was it just because of the people they had testified?
I mean, not the information. I mean, the information has been good, but the flow of it has been boring.
And I think that's more by design and not by the government in general, but I think that's more by design. I think it's by design. So public opinion won't be as hard because what we don't see, we don't really care about. But do you think anything is going to happen to Trump as a result?
Because the only thing that I see, that's a good question. Because what I'm looking at every time I'm watching these hearings is how the Justice Department is going to react, right? And because the committee itself has already said that they're not going to recommend anything to the Justice Department, that could be an indication that they don't have to. That they don't have to do the recommendation because the Justice Department already has everything that they have and probably more.
So what's the point of this then?
To tell the public what they found out, that what Congress found out, not the Justice Department.
But see, I don't want to go through this and the trial.
Well, I think this is good because now we can see what we are seeing is how all of this was set in motion from the initial planning to the actual day of insurrection and to what happened to insurrection on the day of insurrection and what actually and how many people died and how it happened, which we would not get from a trial. We wouldn't get that from a trial because it would be specific to the people that are being charged. So if they was to take Donald Trump and try to charge him for this, they wouldn't be talking about all the people that died, but just on somebody else.
But he would still be held responsible for that.
Not for murder, is what I'm saying. Like he would be charged for the insurrection because he got it moving. The people that killed those people would be charged with their murder.
Well, he will be charged with conspiracy, which is the same amount of time.
That's true. That's why I say I'm watching the Justice Department to see what they do, because that's where the charges would come from. Congress can't do charges; they can only recommend.
I get that, but I wish this was shorter so we can go right into a trial, right into executing him. I want him to be executed.
I mean, the only thing that Congress can do is, file sanctions, which is money. But they can't do charges. The Justice Department has to do charges, and if they charge him, that means he can't run.
And I just need them to do that. I need them, and I don't know what the Democrats would have to do or what the public needs. And what I noticed was, with these new shootings that have been happening, a lot of congressmen have been complaining about the volume of calls and complaints and all that, but that's what needs to happen. That is what needs to accompany you voting, like reaching out to your representation, and not just when you need something for yourself, but when things are happening. You have to use the power of those letters, of those phone calls, of going to their office. Like, and I'm not saying harass anybody, but you have a right. Their office is a public space, meaning you have to be seen at some point. Like if you call, if you respond, somebody has to respond. And if enough people keep doing that, i.e. the Black community, we keep on raising our voice in that way and stop complaining about our voice not counting. It doesn't count because you don't do shit beyond voting.
Raising your voice. That's
right.
it.
Yeah, but exactly. You raise your voice, you may vote, but more than likely, if you're raising your voice, you're not going to vote.
I wish we get out of that mode of just saying, voting is all you have to do. Your citizenship requires you to do a little bit more than that.
Yeah, a lot more than that.
Exactly. Voting is the minimum. And if you're not going to be a true, I mean, I know a lot of people that say, because I also say it, that I don't like this country, right? Yeah. But I have to also back that up with what I want to improve for the country in my own lane. What can I do to help this country be better? And if you're not asking yourself that, then you're not really doing anything.
I really still don't get people who don't vote. I really don't get it, because those are typically the loudest people, the people who are not voting. They have the most to say, the most to complain about, the biggest gripes, and yet you don't vote.
And then you got to ask yourself, do you really have a right to complain when you didn't even put your vote in action?
What was interesting to me over the weekend driving, I heard Mosby first campaign commercial. Do you think she's going to win this time? Despite them trying to railroad her?
The indication that she actually started, it gives me a better sign. Because she should have been running ads all along.
But she couldn't.
But that's what I'm saying. This was what gives me an indication that she feels as though she's going to win her case. Right? Because why run ads if you're going to be indicted, if you're already indicted and being prosecuted, and your trial is before the election?
What is the scary part to me is she has not had to campaign as hard as I think she's going to have to campaign for this cycle. She has not had to do that. Most times people are pissed that she.
Who's she running against? She's running against Theory. Right? Isn't it her? Isn't Theory? He's running for a state's attorney instead of
the man who picked up the prostitute. I can't. And he is as fake as anything. I met him when
Ivan Bates.
Ivan Bates.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the road. It's what is he running for?
They are running for state's attorney.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, the road. I need you to sit down because you tried to run for every office in this city and you've lost each one of them. So I don't know who's supporting him.
Who? Vera?
Yeah, I don't know who is supporting him.
After being rejected once, I don't know why you keep running.
Yeah, but he's run for mayor. I think he's run for comptroller. He wants
to get something.
I love the energy, but you're not right for anything. Go be a teacher. Go be a teacher, or go be a lobbyist or something. Because he's good at talking. He should be a lobbyist. He really should be. Or he should be in radio or something. Because he will get you and you'll be talking for 10 hours.
Yeah, Ivan Bates, Marilyn Mosby, Theater,
I gotta see.
And somebody named Roya Hanna.
I don't even know those people. It sounds like she gonna win again. Just based off of interest alone, I think she's gonna win again. I hate how they tried to get her right before the election. Off of something, as you said, off of something that they don't even need to be concerned about. The insurance companies do.
Right. And off of something that they would have to prosecute everybody for that ever purchased a home. Because look, I'm about to admit something about myself, but I'm not going to do it.
Well, I mean,
that we've all done it.
Everybody was affected.
Anybody that has purchased a home has done it because the rules for purchasing a home are ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
What's it called? It's the debt ratio is really ridiculous because if you can pay rent on time every month for 5 years, you qualify. You should qualify to buy a house. If you are coming from a rent,
and typically the rent, especially the rent now,
yes,
it's 3-4 times as much.
And then it's also that typically rents are outweigh what a mortgage would be.
That's what I said. It's normally about 2 or 3 times, if not 4 times today.
And that's not considered. But that's the thing about the mortgage of getting the mortgage process is that they don't take that into consideration that you already pay mortgage rates more than mortgage rates in your current environment. And that's not considered good credit. And that should be. That should be your credit basis, not your credit report, not your work, not anything. Is that you have a clear record of paying this certain amount of money for the past maybe 5 years, 10 years, whatever the case may be. That is what should garner you a mortgage because you have already shown that you pay on time and are an effective participant in community. Mm-hmm. And that's not what's taken into consideration. They go off your credit report and all this other kind of stuff that has nothing to do with your home, your home life.
And that's why, and from what I've been reading, there have been the success rate of someone who can be a first-time home buyer based off of somebody who does a rent-to-own. Mm-hmm. They typically have better experiences with rent-to-own customers than they do with somebody who's trying to be a first-time buyer the regular way.
Exactly. It's just that the rent-to-home thing, it doesn't give you the benefits
along the way.
Right. It doesn't give you you don't have the same benefits. Like if you leave early, if you move out of that rent-to-own early before you finish your contract, you've lost all your money.
All that money
you don't get you don't have access to equity in your house or anything. You don't have no perks. You just paying this bill that, at the end of your contract, you own this property, but you can't borrow against anything.
Until you own it outright.
And I think you don't have access to none of the equity in a property. The owner still has it.
But I think for some people that's like a secured credit card. Like I think
that's exactly what it would be. Right. You have no perks.
Right.
But I think you are the listed soon to be owner.
Yeah, but I think it's still, because there is a perk. You're building your credit at that point. You know, for some people who just don't have, who've never established, who don't have good credit. I think it's
Yeah,
still
but I think if you are becoming a first time homeowner, I believe that your rental history should play a part.
Yeah.
Because that should be the qualifying factor on why you should be considered to own a home. Because the banks know that your mortgage isn't going to be as much as your rent. Right. The banks know that. The creditors know that. Even if they could get your credit history put on your credit, on Equifax and all that kind of stuff, it should be considered when you're considered that debt ratio. Because it's the debt ratio that considers you a good purchaser.
And that should be, and that's the same reason why people are fighting to get, say, like your utilities be a part of your credit scoring.
Yeah.
Because you're paying these things on a monthly basis, and that's something
and not get no benefit from it.
Right. And that's something that's current versus the debt you owe was something from the past.
Right. Hey, one hospital bill. If you got one hospital bill in there, it could disqualify you from getting a mortgage. And then you got to go through all these credit repairs for no reason, because they'll tell you that this credit report, it really doesn't really matter, but they don't like to see it on there. And then that's the reason why they denied you, because they don't like to see it.
I remember, so when I was really young, I went through the process, and I just remember how hard it was. And it was strictly, the lady told me it was because of my age. It was because of my age. I had a really nice job, had a nice amount of money saved up. But because of my age, that was the thing that kept the process going on. I eventually got it, but it felt like hell. It felt like I was answering more questions twice. Like it felt like the process just kept repeating itself. But it should not be. I understand why it's such a complicated, drawn out process, because they want to make sure you make good on with the money. But it's still, it's so just, more people would do it if it was not as bad of a process. The second time I went through with it, it was a rent-to-own situation. And it was strictly because my landlord decided they didn't want the house anymore. And because I was in school full time, it was like, I already went through this process. I'm not going through this again. So it was like what do they call it? A private or a closed deal directly with the landlord, a direct sale. And it was really just, it felt easier. And the fact that when I wanted to leave, I was able to leave. And it wasn't any penalties. It wasn't, it was money spent. The money I spent would have been rent money anyway. So it all worked out. And I think the difference is, if I do that in the middle of a mortgage, my credit, my finance, everything is devastated. And I think that should be a process that many people go to. So when you get your second home, maybe you go through the process as a first-time home buyer, but you've already established certain things by that point, where the process isn't as hard, and you know the routine. But yeah, I got all the way over here from the January 6th committee. I just want justice to happen. I need justice to happen, and I think it will help. But people are saying, if the outcome of this hearing isn't in his favor, or the group of people involved's favor, we may have another January 6th catastrophe. And that's probably just the people who did the first one, putting that out there, as a fear tactic. But I believe it. If it happened on January 6th, it can happen any other day of the year. And I don't think we're prepared. I mean, even though they probably had knowledge of it happening, I don't understand how they had prior knowledge. Well, they said they were putting it out on the internet, so that's how they got handle of it. But I don't think that they thought it would be. I think they thought it would be like Black Lives Matter, or something of that nature where it was just a protest. I don't think they ever thought that they would actually storm the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
But the way some of these senators and such are defending it, like, no, it was just a tour of the Capitol. No, they had footage of
senators. A force.
Right. They had footage of senators in the upper part of the chambers still hiding because they could not get out in time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had footage of them pushing them out of the door. You know, Pence. You know, I feel sorry for him. One, because he put I really don't, because he knew Trump was evil and he was just going along so he could be the next president at some point. Mm-hmm. But he turned on his own vice president. And then they play, I think I was looking at some recap of the hearings from this week, and they played the speech that took him hours to make. Remember, it took him till 4:00 that day to make the speech?
Oh, yeah, to tell people to stop, go home.
Right. But he didn't start with, hey, you all need to go home. It's been enough. You've done enough damage, so on and so. He started with how the election was rigged.
Mm-hmm.
That alone should be, we don't even need him to testify. That alone should be his message.
Dereliction of duty. Dereliction of duty.
Right. They said it took him forever. And he never even called in the National Guard. They said Mike Pence is the one who called in the National Guard and called in the local police force. It was him who did that. Now, I don't give him a pat on the back because that is your job if your president is being, you know,
derelict.
Right. Like if he's causing a damn insurrection, you're supposed to jump in and do that. You know, your life was just on the line. I need to hear more from him. I wonder if they're going to get him to testify.
Oh, Mike Pence.
Do you think he'll come?
I don't think he's going to be. I think everybody that's set to testify is already set because they already have his lawyer.
Even in the trial?
Oh, in the trial, possibly, but I doubt it. But they already had Mike Pence's lawyer, which had that's basically everything because he has to come with the legal jargon to defend his client.
But I think if hearing from Mike Pence directly in terms of all that he had to do
and how he felt and how everything went down, that would
right, because they basically went there to kill Mike Pelosi and Pence.
Mm-hmm.
They had every intention of taking down Pelosi and Pence, and I think it was the other speaker, the Speaker of the House, I believe.
That's Pelosi.
Pelosi, yeah, the Speaker of the House, I believe. It's just if they can't find a way to make this man all this stuff stick, I'm not even gonna say he's guilty because we all can clearly see, based off his actions for those 4 years, that he was guilty. But I can't understand how they can't get it to stick. Like, how do you not get it to stick? All these people are pleading the fifth and refusing to testify or adhere to a federal, what do they call it? To get them into court. I can't believe that they're allowed to do that and not have to testify. But
are you talking the summons?
Yeah, the summons, like a federal summons.
Mm-hmm.
That's followed by a court. I still go back to that my first time on jury duty and somebody had broke into my house and my door was broken into. So I had to wait until somebody could come and fix the door. And the sheriff called me and said if I'm not in that courtroom within 45 minutes, he would be sending a sheriff out to get me. But you can't get this mother.
Wait a minute. So you must have been already selected for a jury.
Yeah, this was the
okay. Yeah, I'm gonna say they gonna do that for you if you just got your jury letter. You had to be on a jury for them to send the sheriff out to get you.
And I try everything in the world not to be on that jury. Everything. Everything. It just was very inconvenient. I was in a show at the same time, and it was hard. I was supposed to travel, so I had to let go of a job. I had to leave my house wide open. I lived off of Garrison Boulevard. You know how dangerous that is any time of day? He told me if I'm not in that courtroom within 45 minutes, when I walked in the courtroom, everybody was looking at me. And I was like, these gang members are going to kill me because now they know who I am. They see me walk through this, and it's not like a back way you could go to so they don't know who was late. I had to walk through the courtroom back to the chambers for the jury. So if I had to go do that, I don't understand why he doesn't have to testify, or some of these senators or people on his team doesn't have to testify. I need them to go pick them up, give them the same phone call. If you don't show up, we will come pick you up. And that's typically how it works. If you're being summoned and you don't come, but I guess they get this privilege. And another thing that's interesting, all the people who they have records of calling the White House trying to get a pardon. That was the hilarious part of. So this is guilt. This is guilt. These people are guilty. So I wonder how many of them are still going to have to do time, even though they are being forced to testify. I just want to see him. I just want to see him
go down.
I don't even care about the go down part. I just want to see him walking with handcuffs on. That's gonna be devastating. He's not gonna be able to PR his way out of that. But all his children gonna have excuse and they gonna be crying how we've treated their father. But that's the life we live. All I care about is school being out for the summer. That's all I care about right now. And Trump going to jail. Those are my two biggest. I'm trying to see if there's any other news.
Well, you can do that while you're at commercial.
What news?
Look up stuff while you go to commercial.
First of all, you're not for. I said it in a very politically correct way. You have to tell people I didn't have anything.
Well, look at commercial break.
Well, let's go to commercial.
Oh, I thought we was going to commercial.
Out of control.
Apparently not.
I do have a story though. I'm interested in this. I think canceled because we had a snow day. Our regular classes were canceled.
Right.
But because we had a syllabus, we knew what work we still had to do.
Yeah.
Just giving those examples though, because what if that, like I said, still using the kid with mono? What if he went into surgery? He missed that day's lesson. Tomorrow he's recovered.
Surgery, Marty.
You must was a hot child. Was you kissing people at the time?
But see, that's you. You wouldn't care about school. Me, a learner, somebody that likes to learn, I would care about school. I would want to catch up on my education. I don't want to fall behind. You in the hospital for 2 weeks falling behind everybody else. All your friends are behind. I don't want to be that person. You can be the dummy. I don't want to be the dummy. Clearly, that's not my thing.
You're supposed to be learning about mono.
I already learned about mono. It's in my throat. I got it.
Ooh,
I don't need it. Listen here. Wait, hold on, bitches. I don't have mono. Is what I'm saying. I was talking about my example. Listen, I'm going to do all you motherfuckers getting ready to get muted. Let me tell you that right now.
I better hear that as a promo next week. Because
why
you ain't got it in your throat.
That's why I ain't coming outside.
Oh, shit.
That's why I was
Heard it.
That's
I
why.
heard it the other day.
Y'all.
Bonnie got mono in his throat.
What about there, Bonnie? What about there?
Now the question is, where'd you get it from? That's the question. How'd you?
I can't. I can't.
That dude is too much. When I tell you this station is out of control, this has been a weird time. This me. Where's your cousin at?
Maybe I have no idea. I haven't talked to her in a couple months.
That girl, something is. Oh, that girl
Just
is.
turn around. She told me, "I'm coming back." Whatever, girl.
To do what?
Her show. Yeah, whatever.
Put your makeup on camera? Like, no, this. No. None of those antics.
Her and Jungle.
At least Jungle was prepared. For a light-skinned guy, he was really prepared.
Not for a light-skinned guy.
I saw him the other day. I was going to throw my water bottle out the window. Yeah.
Did you see the Mike Lindell?
Who?
Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy.
No.
They pulled all his pillows out of Walmart.
So what? So is that because he was pro-Trump?
Thinking so. I'm thinking so.
They'll get everybody but Trump. Everybody but Trump.
He is now now likens them to Nazi Germany. What kind of comparison that is, but
this is weird. It's weird. It's weird how they gonna get everybody around him but him.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird how people are still supporting him, seeing that they're getting everybody around him but him. He's only concerned with him and his children. And I really think he'll still put himself before his children. He'll watch all three of his children go to jail before he go to jail. I want them to get on, I want them to treat this like it's a cocaine case. All conspiracy theories to the side, and they just go get a conspiracy because they all was in there. Ivanka's going to jail because she slept with him, so I know he told her things at night. His son's going to jail, the young one. They're going to put him in juvenile hall because he lived in the same house. He knew what was going on. His three older children, they're going to jail. The only one that's going to be safe is the one he really don't care about, his oldest daughter. But the rest of them, they're going to jail. They're going to jail. I want the butler that was his main butler in the White House. I want him to go to jail. I want the person who was his driver, his security detail, all go to jail. They knew what was going on, and they let it happen. But I'm not going to talk about them. I said I'm not talking about Monique. I'm not talking about Monique. But however, speaking of comedians that are going wild, I'm not talking about Monique's sister. I know that lady too. She spoke out against Monique, but I'm not talking about that. I'm gonna talk about Kirk Franklin and his son. We are privately trying to address some of those things Kirk Franklin speaks on where he stands with his son, Sean Caron, following his arrest. So apparently he's being accused of murder. I believe it was murder? As a Karan exposed his father by sharing a recorded clip from their private conversation on Instagram. In the audio clip, the Grammy-winning, why they gotta add all that? Artist can be heard screaming and using profane language, making statements like, "Before I put my foot up your ass." So this was the beginnings of it. We had heard rumors of it before, that he didn't have the best relationship with his son from his first marriage. But it's all been put out there on the Bad Boys Club. And his son is, I believe he's still arrested. He's still in jail. He was recently on the Breakfast Club, and DJ Envy asked if the two had healed from their incident. Kirk saying he historically have tried to keep our journey with our son and his state of private family a matter. A private family member. He said, "I love my son, and we've been here for many, many years. I've done everything that I could to try to help him for many, many, many years." Did you get to watch the Bad Boys Club?
I never even heard of it.
You gotta watch it. It's a group of men. They're not all gay. I assume that they all were gay, but I think it was like two or three of them that wasn't gay, and I think one of them were kind of like a little bit of everything, and then the other ones were gay. Mm-hmm. And it was Andrew Caldwell. It was the Where the Money Resides. It was the boy from Love and Hip Hop that exposed the boyfriend who was supposed to be straight. He's on, I think his name Milan. And I don't really know any of the other guys on there. I don't know where they come from. But they were probably like social media and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But this show is a shit show. If you think the regular reality shows or something, you got to watch this one. And because of where all these individual guys are coming from, and then it was Kirk Franklin's son, and there's a couple more guys on there. But because of where these guys are coming from, you know them from something on social media or something. None of them, to me, are seemingly talented in any direction, but they are more social media style people. But this show, I only got through one episode. I couldn't watch anymore. I saw clips of the other episodes, but I couldn't watch anymore. It was too much. I think Andrew Caldwell got kicked off at some point. He left, but they really were saying he was kicked off. And it was just fighting and like real fights. You know, when the guys get to fighting, it'd be worse than when the girls are fighting, but because they normally break it up. But these, it was like it was security, but it wasn't security at the same time. It was just a lot. And Kirk Franklin's son, he was a part of it. Him and Milan had a lot of arguments, but for him, it was more so, I guess he was put on there to spill his father's tea and to expose his father and you just don't be thinking that celebrities have these types of issues, but I guess they're human too. But I just would do anything in my power to keep my son off of this platform, like make amends with him before he goes and spills all the church business on his father. And I believe that he's probably going to be asked to be on other shows now. This was his first, like, outside of him going on his social media page, this was his first platform like this. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to ask this boy to do interviews. And once he get out of jail, of course, because I think he's been alleged to have been a part of a murder. And they're blaming him, which is probably just him being around the wrong people at the wrong time. And they're criticizing Kirk Franklin because they're saying Kirk Franklin isn't trying to help him out of this situation. But why would he? He just exposed my whole life. So why would I help him out? But I think we're going to hear a lot more actually, about Kirk Franklin as time goes on. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Red Table Talk. Do you like Jada Pinkett, or are you one of the people that think she's a narcissist and she's evil? And do you understand why they blaming her for so much?
I do. I love Jada Pinkett actually, and I'm so sick of people blaming this grown woman for this grown man's actions.
But even, I mean, he just slapped somebody.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And it's gone so far to say that he didn't do the slap on his own. He did it because of her.
She blinked at him. She gave him the eye, and that gave him.
Regardless of what she gave him, allegedly, he made the decision to do it and risked his own set of items. I think he put his own set of items at risk. You can't blame her for his option to get up and go slap somebody. That's not fair.
But even if he did, this was intentional, he planned it. Will Smith has never been in trouble for anything other than the Janet Hubert situation. He's never really had any stain on his record other than that. And he made a.
And neither did she, besides this August thing. And neither did she.
But again, and you know what's weird to me? How people are choosing what parts of this to talk about. Mm-hmm. And they never talk about the fact that Jada or Will never said anything.
And will never say anything. So it's like, talk all you want.
Right.
But we've made it.
Right.
We made it. And we're not going nowhere. So y'all can talk all y'all want. We still gonna make money. Mm-hmm. And I like that approach when you don't have to answer questions. I don't have to give you anything.
And but they still did though. They still, because I think Will Smith has started this journey of being very transparent. Because I guess it was part of his healing process. If you
his growth, it's actually part of. I don't think it's a healing process. I think it's his growth.
Did you read the book yet?
His book?
Mm-hmm.
No.
They have the audio version. If you.
Oh no, I didn't even know he had a book, but I'm glad you said
that. He had a book, and it explains all that is happening right now, mm-hmm. and very, very much so in detail about where he is in life. But there was a documentary.
But you can see that too. But you can also see that in his travels, that he's trying to build a bigger, I don't want to call it spiritual, but he's trying to build a bigger presence in himself.
Right. Well, there was a documentary that was leading up to the book coming out that he did not get to finish because it became too much for him. So you already saw that there was a lot going on. And it started out with him gaining weight and having to lose weight for a role. And that started the journey of the documentary, which turned out to be more about the book and his relationships with people. He talked a lot about, the issue with Janet Hubert. And if she forgave him, I think.
But they also forget too that, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but in the process of all of that, they forget that him and Chris Rock didn't have the best of relationships.
But I believe they were friends, and they
were friendly,
right? And I think this was a
but this wasn't the first time he had to check Chris Rock on what he said out of his mouth. That's what we forget.
I don't recall the first time.
It wasn't a public thing. It was something that he actually mentioned in passing. Like, this isn't the first time. Or check, not just Chris Rock, or check a comedian about what they say, and they want to come to him to work with him.
Well, but I gathered all of this because this wouldn't have nobody would get that mad and click off in that way if I didn't tell you.
If it was just a simple joke. Exactly. If it was just a simple joke. Because I think he could have laughed. He still could have laughed that off.
Right, but he tried to laugh.
He tried.
But the fact that you just kept, the fact that Chris Rock, if you were watching it, he opened up by saying, "Jada, I love you," and then everything else after that was a shit show.
Exactly, but initially, like I said, when we was first talking about this, when it first happened, though, this is the disrespect that he was trying to counter with his own documentary, and then still did it to another Black woman. But you did a whole documentary on stop disrespecting Black women about their hair. Don't ask to touch it. Don't
But being as though,
and then you did it anyway.
You had already laid that out in the same platform years ago. You already did this. Why wait till they come back?
And be a hypocrite, because she was actually, he said something about her in the documentary, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And then turned around to be a hypocrite.
Wasn't she a part of it?
That's why I said I think I remember her being a part of it, or something, or said something about her in the documentary, or like I picture her image came up or something like that about her hair.
Yeah. Well,
but if we all recall back in the days of Low Down Dirty Shame.
Yeah.
I think she has been suffering from that infliction for quite a while, but was probably undiagnosed because her hair was always thin. Even when it was really short, it was really thin. You could see straight through to her scalp.
Well, that's one of the reasons they,
I just think it was undiagnosed.
They wear their hair that short. The same thing, and ironically, her and Toni Braxton are really good friends.
Exactly.
And that's one of the reasons why Toni Braxton would keep her hair cut short. Her real hair would be cut short.
Because it was very thin and fine.
Right, because all the medication she was taking was thinning her hair. So there's got to be something that she's talked about amongst her friends, and it's
she
something.
did. Yeah, she mentioned that when she was going for the role of Low Down Dirty Shame, they wanted her hair longer. She was like, my hair's not going to grow longer. It's not. It's just going to be thin like this. And I want to say
that was part of her story in that movie. I want to say that.
I think in Low Down Dirty Shame, I think it was when Peaches.
No, I'm talking about in terms of her being a part of Chris Rock's
Chris Rock's
documentary. I want to say that that's what it was a part of. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again.
I mean, but even in Low Down Dirty Shame, when Jada and Peaches was talking about perms.
Yeah. But it's just,
and it was like, and I think it was something about because Peaches left the perm in too long.
Yeah. But I think Peaches had left his perm in too long.
That's what I'm talking about. Peaches left his perm in too long, and his hair was fried.
But it's almost like people want to hate her. And when
I don't get it. I don't get that. Like, why do you want to hate her? Why do you keep saying that she's the narcissist? She's been married.
They want her to be the loud ghetto one when we first met her. That's what
I always think they're trying to bring in her that she has the Baltimore infliction. That's what I keep trying. That's what keeps.
So how dare she? How dare she try to be anything other than this ghetto Baltimore girl?
But she's been rich for more than 20 years. So how you can't bring her back?
Thing. She may not have had the blockbuster success that her husband has gotten, but she was just a part of Girl Trip.
That's what I'm saying. She's been rich for more than 20. I said 20 years, but it's actually been more than 25 years that she's been a wealthy woman.
Her and Will Smith have produced a number of things that we love on TV.
They are the ultimate millionaires. If they're not the top of their game in movies, in cinema, she was
one of the producers of. She was one, so she had every right to be there that night.
Right.
She had every right.
She was in the Matrix, so she was invited. That's what it was. Right.
She was one of the producers of his movie. She was one of the executive producers of that movie. So
the Matrix, they invited her because she was in the Matrix, even though the Matrix wasn't nominated for anything. But she was invited because she was in a motion picture that year.
Two of them, because she was just the same thing that Jennifer Hudson just got EGOT status for. But even though that was a play, she did the same thing for his movie that won all these awards.
She wasn't just, they like to say that she was just Will Smith's guest. But no, she was actually invited because she was in a motion picture that year.
It's like they want them to just get divorced. They just want this to be ugly.
And she was always a voting member.
And she still is.
And she still is, because she didn't get any penalties on her, only Will.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
But you know what? Nobody ever spoke about that. Because nobody even thought that she would be a voting member. Why not? She's been a producer for years.
Yep. As soon as you're nominated, you almost become a voting member.
Right, but she she was the producer on many of the things that Will Smith has done.
Mm-hmm.
She was a producer of many of the TV shows that neither one of them were on.
Mm-hmm.
Like they really and it's almost like they want to hate her, like they blame her, and it's just narrative about Tupac.
But you know, it's hypocritical too. It's a lot of hypocrisy in that because they want her to be something that she's not, but they want her. They say she is emasculating him, which is impossible because either how do you want her to be? Either you want her to be able to tell him what to do or not. To emasculate him is for her to tell him what to do at all times. That would be emasculating. But if he got up and did it on his own, now you want her to be the one to rein him in.
And him sling her little ass across that room. And then he really gonna be under the jail.
So you wanted her to be up there dragging him by his feet to get him off the stage and yet rein him in, but not emasculate him in the process. How does that work?
It's sad. It's really sad in how we talk about each other, but I'm just recognizing how people are connecting dots that aren't even connectable.
Yeah.
Which
is my thing. I don't understand how they even came to the conclusion that
this is all because of Tupac.
But this is a now almost 30-year marriage. And no one can identify. I mean, almost no one can identify with a 30-year marriage in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Almost no one. I think the only other person that can identify with that is Clint Eastwood.
I mean, there's a couple.
And Denzel.
Denzel. And what's the other guy? Lawrence Fishburne. Not Lawrence Fishburne. The other one. The one that Uncle Rufus. Is that his name?
Uncle Rufus.
Samuel Jones. Samuel
L. Jackson.
Him and his wife been together for
right.
years.
Those are the only people that can identify with, surviving the Hollywood curse of staying together. And even and they're not giving them credit on the fact that they had that altercation with August and survived it.
But they wasn't even together. They were separated at the time.
But they weren't legally separated. But they survived it though. They weren't legally separated.
But that's one of the things that they said when they both did that.
That they were going through issues. But but one thing that Will Smith always said is that nothing that ever happens in our marriage will lead to divorce. This is final. And she agreed with him. I'm not marrying nobody else. I'm married to this man. Whatever happens, we'll deal with it as a couple.
They don't hear that. They don't believe it because
I don't understand why that is not a factor in everybody else's thought process.
Because they're
saying we're together forever. This is it for us.
Because most of those people have never even seen that type of love in their own life.
Exactly.
So why would you? And then somebody from Philly, from Baltimore, how the fuck they gonna make it for almost 30 years? And I can't even get somebody to propose to me. Like that's
because I don't know what that human nature is, where everybody believes that they can identify with other people's lives. You can't identify because everybody got to make their marriage work for them, not for you and not for the audience.
I just commented on somebody's post, and I was like, y'all don't even know these people.
Mm-hmm. Like I was just looking at, and I never defend Steve Harvey because I can't stand his teeth, but I was just looking at some comments on. He was talking to a military officer. She was high up, and the military woman, she came in and asked him for his advice on how to deal with her husband, who always throws the fact that he's also in the military, but he's at a lower rank. He's like an officer, and she's a lieutenant colonel. And when she asked him to do something around the house, when she asks her husband to do something around the house, he always throws her position in her face for the reason why he doesn't want to do it. You can't boss me around because you are a colonel in the in the armed forces. That's not. And so he said to her, That's just his way of trying to get out of doing what you asked him to do. Stay persistent on what you want him to do. It'll all work out. Do y'all love each other? She said, yes. Is that going to make y'all break up? She said, no. Then just stay on them. I mean, it's just a give and take in a marriage that you're going to have to stay on your husband. If you want him to take the trash out, you're going to have to stay. That was the advice she gave him. Then you go into the comments, and the comments is like, I would never take any advice from Steve Harvey. And I wouldn't either. But at the same time, he was not wrong. And giving her that advice. If she's not going to leave him and you still want him to do something, you're going to have to press him. But he wasn't wrong. But they was like, well, he been married 3 different times. Yes, he's been married 3 different times because he wanted to get it right.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing I think that's happening with Monique. People would rather see her single and
than to deal with her husband.
Than to allow her husband to be her manager. Oprah said it to her. What's his name?
But that's because they don't want to deal with the hard questions that the husband has. That's a scare tactic. You scared to deal with her husband because her husband's going to ask the questions that she's not going to ask.
And Monique said it. Monique said, "I've gotten the best deals of my life. I've gotten Emmy, not an Emmy,
because you tend to not do what's best for yourself. You tend to do what's best for whatever project you're working on, and that's not always what's best for you.
Yeah.
And you need that extra person, whether it's your husband or your manager, to actually work on behalf of you and not work on behalf of the project. Because you're the one that has to survive the project, even if the project fails.
But it's just weird to me that we keep seeing these situations, and it is just, it's weird. It's weird to hear people make comments about people and not care how it affects. And I think that's a very Black thing to do. Where we are the type of people that will go out and bully somebody and then get pissed off when that person speaks up for themselves or speaks out on themselves, speak out on what you're doing to them. Like we are a delusion people that you could do whatever you want to do to me and I'm not supposed to do anything back. I'm not supposed to buck up. And that takes me, and I wasn't going to talk about Monique, but that takes me to this D.L. Hughley situation. Because it's clear that whatever has happened to them happened as a result of Monique. Well, I'm just saying he wasn't her friend to begin with. Her going on to his show, and it wasn't him. Monique honestly said D.L. Hughley wasn't even there, but it was how he responded to her calling him saying, "Hey, this happened on your show today. Can you get them to erase that or not to air that?" Now, it never aired because we never even knew about it. But clearly, and I want to say this clearly, I don't agree with Monique bringing up his daughter. I don't agree with that, Monique. I think you were wrong for that, Monique. I think you need to adjust everything doesn't have to be I got to get them before they get me. Or I got to get them because they got me. I think you need to state your arguments as you have been on your platform. That's why. So now she's about to get a settlement from Netflix. And of course, everybody's saying, well, only time people settle is when they just want stuff to stop. No, Netflix would not have caved in to give a settlement if they didn't feel that they were wrong.
And to settle is to admit wrongdoing, but just not publicly.
And most people have conveniently said, well, that's not what settling is.
It is. Settling is to admit wrongdoing without doing it publicly.
And I've said this whole time, if Netflix was so like, fuck Monique, why were they still playing both of her? She has a show. Her show is now on Netflix. The Parkers is on Netflix, and 2 of her stand-up, the Queens of Comedy, which she is a part of, and her stand-up special she did in a jail. She did a stand-up special in a jail. Both of them are, you're right. All 3 of them are still on Netflix.
Right. So if money is there,
pay her the money that those things are reaching.
And to settle and to exchange money, meaning you paid somebody, is the admission in itself. Because you're paying me as an admission to your guilt, but not publicly because of a settlement.
But so this takes me to, so I didn't want to spend a lot of time on Monique because I love Monique. Monique is like Jada Pinkett, is so Baltimore that I just root for them because they got out.
But isn't that interesting that it seems like Baltimore is the running theme? Yep. Jada Pinkett Smith and Monique. The controversy is that y'all not going to outtalk us.
Nope.
When Jada Pinkett's mode is that I'm not going to talk to you because you don't mean shit to me.
And that's
and Monique is like, you're not going to outtalk me, bitch.
You're not. And they both.
But that's the thing. That's the Baltimore theme. Is that you might think you're right, but I'm gonna prove that you're wrong.
Yeah. And they just got two ways of doing it.
And that's what I get. They got two different ways of doing it because that's what I get from Jada Pinkett. You're not gonna run me. So, and I'm not going to allow you to tell me that I'm emasculating my husband because I'm never going to respond to you.
But and I know he can't do it right now. And there's supposed to be an interview that he's done after this, since this all happened. And I part of me wants to watch it, but I'm not a person that can watch a train wreck. I'm just not a person. I can't do it. But interesting enough, going back to Monique, and how she tried to spotlight these situations that was happening in terms of comics not getting their just desserts in terms of Netflix and other streaming sites. And one of the names that came up was Amy Schumer. And everybody thought, Monique, come on now. Amy Schumer, she ain't funny, but she earning her way and she doing what she doing and she got what she got.
Because Amy Schumer is hilarious.
Amy Schumer?
Amy Schumer is hilarious.
I don't see it.
I love Amy Schumer.
I'm not into self-deprecating.
Especially her show. That show she used to have on Comedy Central.
Are you talking about Amy Schumer or Chelsea Handler?
I'm talking about Amy Schumer.
Okay. So I don't like that brand of humor where it's self-deprecating. I'm not really... that's not funny to me. And that's all I've seen her do. She just talk about how ugly she is, how fat she is. And it's just not...
Not all she talks about. I mean, she does do that a God, but that's not all she talks about.
But that's all I hear when I see her, though. I don't really... Anything that she do in between it is always outweighed by her self-deprecation. But interesting enough, in a recent interview, Amy Schumer had a lot to say about Tiffany Haddish. And it was very white woman-ish. It was very Karen-ish. I'll say it that way. And she felt, and this is what I got from what she said. They asking her a question about why, she doesn't, I don't even know how did they even get on Tiffany Haddish? But she brought up Tiffany Haddish behavior being a problem in terms of her comparing Tiffany Haddish to her and Chelsea Handler. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they're not boastful about what they got and because they've had to compete with men in this field for so long that they weren't able to be boastful, which is very interesting. And they brought up the example of when the interviewer kind of shaded Tiffany a little bit, and Tiffany came back and said, "This is what rich looks like. These are labels. These are expensive. This is what wealth looks like." And from that's what they gathered, But it was interesting that Amy Schumer is the one who brought this up, and she said it in a very smug way. and the one thing she said was, well, the interviewer who was interviewing Amy Schumer said, well, I think she's done very well for herself. I think she's done very good. I don't see that as a problem. And Amy Schumer came back and said, well, how has that been working out for her? As if she knows something that Tiffany doesn't know. Or because these things have happened to her, it's automatically going to happen to Tiffany. People love Tiffany because she looks like their young aunt or their little sister or their big, Like she comes across with that energy. I didn't see anything about what she said is boastful. I saw her checking the lady who tried to comfort her, and I don't like.
Yeah, because what I'm reading it now, and she said, here's the quote. Because somebody else, I don't know who this person Lemon is. What's this Lemon person? Hold on. Oh, Don Lemon. Okay, it's Don Lemon. So Don Lemon brought up I love Tiff. Lemon said in defense of the girl strip star. And then it says, this is what Amy Schumer said. I love Tiff too. She's incredible. She had a huge meteoric rise. I'm wondering if people are going to be pissed at her.
For being boastful. First of all, this happened over a month ago, a couple months ago. Ain't nobody talking about it but you. You took offense to it.
Mm-hmm.
She was telling you what wealth looks like. You know, and I hate when stuff like this happens because Monique just was talking about this, but not directing it at Amy Schumer, but she was talking about pay gaps and how is a just, you know, a big gap between white women and black women. And for all we know, in sense and purposes, you and what's her name? Chandler, whatever her name is.
Okay, so here's what it says. The rest of this. It says Schumer recently appeared on The Shop with LeBron James, Don Lemon, Fat Joe, and others, where discussions around race, gun violence, and women's rights took place. There was a point where Lemon stressed the importance of Black vulnerability in the media when Schumer interjected.
Mm-hmm.
The Trainwreck star went on to explain her love for Lil' Kim, but also felt like the rapper downplays a part of herself publicly for the sake of her career. Schumer says she and other female comedians like Chelsea Handler and Moms Mabley have to make jokes about being a drunk or a fat whore to be well received by the public. But when Lemon countered her argument and mentioned Tiffany Haddish as a female comedian who was breaking the mold and not doing that, Schumer shot back. And it says,
how is that working out for her?
But how is that going for her? She asked. I'm really asking. I'm really asking this. That's what she emphasized.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it says. The quote says, but how is that going for her? She asked. I'm really asking this. I'm really asking this. She said it twice. She emphasized it. And then that's when Don Lemon said, I love Tiff. And then that's when she responded. I love Tiff too. She's incredible. She had a huge meteoric rise. I'm wondering if people are going to get pissed at her for not staying with the status quo or doing what you said, the self-deprecating thing.
But that was a big part of Tiffany's story. She told stories about her life.
Right, initially, yeah, and she tried, and now she's trying to get out of doing that, which is not wrong, which is not a problem. She's already told the story. She wrote a book,
right? But her whole thing was she didn't know how to read.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she had to toe the line of being a sexy comedian that was homeless, that couldn't tell nobody she was homeless. Like a big part of hers was self-deprecating, but like you said, she's trying to remove herself and go to a different caliber, like Monique did.
Because now that's why she now talks about I'm rich now.
Right. And I think, but unfortunately, some of my artist friends, I tell them, what you're doing right now, white people looking at that shit. And they seeing that you're disrespecting your fellow black artists or black community just to fit in with theirs. And they see you doing this. They're not gonna say nothing, but they will treat you accordingly. Because they know you're trying. You're working towards that. And I don't like the way first of all, I think they all should have checked her in that moment. Because the black community is already coming at Haddish's neck. Look at little Cat Williams or Lunel. They've all tried to do this to her.
Here's what's interesting. One of the commenters said, when this first came out, so this article is posted what the comments said, right? Yeah. So one comment said they continue to show the privilege and don't care. Actually, I disagree with that because Amy was poor. She grew up poor in New York.
Right.
And Jewish. So they add that on top of that, poor and Jewish. And that's not a thing that's common, to be poor and Jewish.
Right. Well, if you're in New York, it may be, or it's the extremes.
That is right. Being poor and Jewish in New York is an extreme.
Right.
Because they make money in New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other comment says, why is she on this platform? Ain't she traumatized by Will? Why does that have anything to do with anything? Because I know they tried to bring everybody tries to bring Will Smith into something. I don't know why that had anything to do with anything.
But you know who's doing that? Who's pissing me off? Wanda Sykes.
Ugh.
Wanda Sykes is still going on TV shows interviewing about how traumatized she was. She just went on Ellen and did it. And it's almost as like, what is the game? What's the end result of this?
She ain't traumatized. She's so stupid.
Right, but Will Smith has taken himself out of everything. They're overseas. Amy Schumer not Amy Schumer, it's the other white comedian.
But when you don't have anything else to talk about, what else can you get on somebody's TV show to talk about if that's the only thing you have as an opportunity? The Upshaws ain't back yet.
Right, they coming back for season 2, like, worry about that. Talk about that. Like, what was your end game?
But she don't have anything else. That's the only thing she can talk about to get visibility is Will Smith.
Right.
It's all a gimmick. And everybody's falling right for it, like she's sitting over there crying. She ain't crying.
It's weird to me.
It's such a weird thing.
Well, Amy Schumer jokingly, she did say she was traumatized by it, but it came across as really traumatized from Wanda Sykes. And it just, like, Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
Wanda. Like, what do you get from this?
So she's traumatized because she thinks somebody's going to get on stage and slap her.
Well, and
after she did that whole entire skit, right? She did a whole entire skit on the Black Ladies Comedy Show where she was a member of the audience heckling somebody. Right.
But her explanation is less about her fear. She does feel, part of her statement was she felt like this was going to open it up for other people. And now since it's happened to Dave Chappelle, it's like it's directly connected to Will Smith. Not the fact that Dave Chappelle has said some crooked shit out of his mouth and somebody felt like they should do something about it. No, but because Will Smith slapped somebody, that's going to make everybody else slap somebody. I understand if you lived in an abusive house.
But that was peers slapping each other. I would consider Will Smith and Chris Rock. That's a total different thing. That's not an audience member coming to slap you. That's your peer slapping you for what you said about your other peer.
Watch your mouth.
About your other peer. Because we don't have access to Chris Rock like that. But they do. So when you get slapped by your peer, it's not the same. Stop trying to act like we on the same level as them.
I said it several times. Like, I felt like this was a conversation, maybe a few, where Will have said, "Look, yo, keep my wife's name up."
He got slapped in a room full of peers.
Yeah,
those were their peers. Every white person in that room was wealthy. Every person that was behind the scenes was wealthy. Those were their peers. He got slapped by another peer.
I understand people being outraged, but people felt
but
like
outraged for what? It was you watched it on TV. That was just like you watching 911 or Grey's Anatomy.
Well, I meant
you watched it on TV. Stop acting like you don't see violence every day.
Well,
you probably just watched HBO. Those people probably just finished watching HBO with the Baltimore show.
But in terms of
all that killing,
but not even the people who were in the audience or spectating, but the people who, like, for example, the man what's his name, Parker, who produced the show.
Mm-hmm.
I understand them. That's what when I say I understand them being outraged, I get it. But my outrage would be, hey, we need to get these two sit down so we can make this right. But they are more embarrassed in front of these white people than they are outraged that Will Smith slapped him. Period.
Right, but they didn't try to correlate it with the movie that he won his Academy Award for. That had nothing to do. That was him depicting somebody else's life. That's not his life.
Yeah.
This the man from Philly. You forgot where he's from?
They have, because he's a joke to them. He's a joke to the world. Like, people have been talking about how soft he is, or
And that's why I love the way Jada has led this reaction. I'm not gonna give y'all the time of day because if this was the streets of Baltimore, bitch, you wouldn't get the time of day either.
That's I show growth because if you knew Jada when she was here, like
yeah, exactly.
So I just feel like these are grown 50-some-year-old people. This is how.
Would it have been better if she would have went up on stage and slapped him?
Or she'd have got up yelling and screaming at Will? Like, how would that have made anything better?
No, because they would have said, this Baltimore bitch is doing this.
I just want us as Black people to do better.
What I see in society is they don't know how to place their opinions. Because is she wrong? Is she right or wrong for not pulling him down or letting him go up in the first place?
But beyond just
and then the gender roles behind all of that.
It's beyond. It's the speculation for me. It's the wishing they were secretly. I can't stand the fact that they fucking still together after all these years. I was watching a lot of these commentaries.
But these 50-year-old people don't need no 30-year-old opinion.
But it's not just the 30-year-old opinion. This was Vivica Fox and Lisa.
But Vivica Fox is on the car show commercial selling chicken. I ain't having it. I'm not having it.
Yeah, but these are also people.
I never want to hear from Vivica A. Fox again. Do you understand me? As soon as she got up there and started selling that scam from Car Shield, she canceled herself to me. Fuck you, Vivica. Bitch.
When he makes shit personal.
I hate her for that. All them people, all them scams that they put on people and not fixing their vehicles, and you gonna take your black ass over there to sell chicken for them? I dare you say something about Mary J. Blige selling chicken again. I dare you.
But she was just singing a song.
Exactly. She
was basically just telling you what was on the chicken sandwich.
And she was doing it for Burger King, not a chicken joint.
Right. It's a selective outrage for me. It is also, it's just how people commentate on things. Like, I try very hard to be let me see what's on this side, let me see what's on this side, and I make a sound decision. But the way we talk about each other publicly like this, it's going to happen privately regardless. But publicly, it's just like Will Smith has become this disgusting character. And I understand that one bad choice can just ruin everything. It really can. We see men on death row or women behind bars or people in a grave right now for one bad choice. But you're not going to tell me somebody who has shown the level of excellence, and not just because he's wealthy, but just how he carries himself. He did not. Janet Hubert is about to spend the years she has left with so much more than she ever had in her whole lifetime. Now, he could have did this sooner, but I just feel like just in a space of, hey, I'm sorry. We know he's the type of person that will admit when he's wrong.
But and at the same time, this came when it was supposed to come. Yeah. Because I'm not going to be held responsible for your career, anybody else's career, or whatever the case may be. Because Janet Hubert, after leaving the Fresh Prince, could have gone on to have a career.
No, she wasn't, because he kind of blackballed. So he did.
She could have started over. Everybody has sought forgiveness before.
Well, it wasn't that she wasn't working. She could not get anything above where she was. Or even on the level where she was. So she did theater, she did smaller little vignettes and places, but she could never go back to where she was. I just posted a picture on my
I kind of find that hard to believe though.
But it can happen.
It can happen. I'm not saying it can't happen. I just kind of find it hard to believe. No.
I mean, well, that's why
because I think she was judging what kind of roles she wanted to take and all that kind of stuff. But that's not how you get yourself out there. If you're going to always condemn yourself to these kind of roles, then you are going to be stagnant. Your career is going to stagnate.
And I think that played a lot into it because she began to just beat herself up about it.
Right. But you are an actor. You're supposed to portray whatever comes your way if you can do it.
Yeah, but this world of entertainment, it is so not about your talent. It's not.
I mean, because when he did respond before, when they got into that argument, he was like, he said, I'm not holding her back from doing anything.
But what's your
response now?
But when you specifically are talking to people about a specific person and how they were on your set, when you
but it's all in how you treat. But you could tell that she's argumentative.
But he's come out and
said it just looked like she had that twang when she talking to you, her neck is moving.
Yeah, but he's come out and said it wasn't, he just wanted her to like him.
Mm-hmm.
And when she did not play the game like everybody else was playing, which she didn't have to.
She did not have to.
But I am that person.
But you see what you just said in her own admittance? When I did not play the game like everybody else did, then you stagnated your own career. I'm sorry. I understand you got scruples or whatever that word I'm looking for is. I understand that part about the scruples in your own.
But whether you like me or not even whether you like me, whether you think I like you, should not even be. That's your insecurity. And they fired that lady, which they did not renew her contract.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't quit. They didn't renew.
She didn't get fired. They just didn't renew your contract.
Right. They didn't renew your contract. But that was just like.
But that's not a firing. At the same time, that's not a firing.
But if you purposely didn't do it, because there was no other reason, because she brought just as much.
But liking somebody and doing work with them at the same time, if I feel as though you don't like me, how is our chemistry going to come off on TV? It matters. It kind of matters.
It matters.
Unless you can act your way out of it.
But it matters if you're doing something to make me uncomfortable.
But it matters if you can act your way out of it. You are an actress. Act like you like me.
But read the book at the time. Read the book about this situation. Mm-hmm. It wasn't about what she was doing. She would be in her dressing room instead of being out socializing or laughing and joking. And I understand that because I'm that person.
So you was kind of standoffish. Not you, but her. She was kind of standoffish.
Right. She was standoffish, but she wasn't.
That ruins chemistry on set. That does ruin chemistry on set.
But it is not chemistry if I show up and I do my work.
It's not, but it's not about. It's not just about that though, and I think you know that. It's also about the camaraderie.
Yeah, and that's all fine. But if I'm not your friend, I'm not your friend. I'm not.
Right. But then you got to realize when we didn't renew. But then that was the basis for not renewing your contract, is that you had no chemistry with no one. Whether you did your work or not, how does it come off on set if you break in camaraderie?
But nobody else, and it's been said, nobody else had a problem with her. The only other person that had a problem with her was Will's sidekick, Alfonso Ribeiro. He was the only one that had an issue with her. But nobody else had an issue. When all of it happened, they all chose, I'm going to still in with Will because the show's still on. I'm still on Will's. And you could tell by their chemistry. Nobody disliked her. She didn't create it.
I agree. I mean, no, I'm agree. I actually agree with you. Nobody disliked her. I mean, you can see that in the reunion, that nobody actually disliked her. But again,
except
they had camaraderie.
He left. Except for Alfonso, because
he don't deal with her.
Right.
But that's also a problem. That right there is also a problem because he was a big star on the show.
But if it's your insecurity, that has nothing to do with what. And that's
right. But it wasn't about. I don't believe, and I wasn't there. I don't believe it was just about insecurity. But when two of your stars are having issues with one cast member.
But But it wasn't anybody else having an issue with her. It was Will
No,
Smith.
I'm talking about when you come to the contract negotiations. If two of your stars, one of them being Alfonso, is saying, I don't like her, or I don't want to work with her, or I don't want, this and that, and he is one of the leading people for people watching, then you know why you lost your job.
Yeah, but because I only defend this situation because I've been in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I am not like in a moment. If I'm working, I can be the life of the party. Mm-hmm. But the moment the job is done, Nate is not nowhere around. Mm-hmm. Nate goes home. Nate leaves out the back door. That's not me creating a hostile work environment. That's you reading into who I am. Mm-hmm. More than you should, and that means it's coming from you. It's not coming from me.
Right, but I think if I understand that, I get that. But I think if you break that cycle of not saying anything by saying that I'm not this person, I'm not going to do that, that probably could have kept and saved her job. But if you just want to isolate yourself from everybody else when the cameras go down and think when you come on set that works, it doesn't really work that way, because we want to feel comfortable around you and not hide ourselves either.
I never thought that was a fair assessment. And I get what you're saying. And in reality, it makes a lot of sense. But I've never agreed with you being this person and wanting me to be who you are. That's how you get along in life.
Right, but what does that say about you? So say, for instance, we're not talking about a set. But say we're not talking about a set, right? Mm-hmm. And we're talking about employee morale at a company. You come in, do your job, go home. You come in, do your job. Never, ever speaking to your coworkers.
But I'm sure she spoke to people. They made it seem like she was just in her room the whole time. Like, I'm sure nobody else had a problem with her. When you would see the interviews, nobody wanted to address it. And I think because there was no other problems. If it was other problems, it would have definitely become a rumor. I remember I was watching the Two Funny Mamas podcast, and they were talking about Monique on the set of Precious. Nobody has ever come out and said Monique is difficult. And Monique said it. She said the only people that ever called me difficult weren't even on the set. She said Tyler Perry, Oprah, they were never even on the set. So to call me difficult would be what? And Sherry Shepherd, who I think she gonna have a very short-lived career as a host of a radio.
I don't think that show gonna make it at all.
It's not. I can already tell. She was talking about her relationship with Monique. She really was trying to convince Kim Whitley to not like Monique anymore, but it wasn't working. But she told a story about Monique being on the set of Precious. And she said Monique would separate herself when they had downtime, when they were always sitting around. She said Monique would be sitting over to the corner with her husband. And
but that would make, that kind of makes sense to me. That role that Monique had to play, she had to be in the mindset to play that role.
Right. But on camera,
because that was totally against her personality.
Right. It would, and it makes sense. But look at the character of the mother of Hubert. She wasn't the loving, tender mom. That's not who she was. That's not who she portrayed herself on TV to be. And we've learned that's not who she is in real life. But it's just, people's perception, and I get it. I've been around cast members who I knew who when I'm in a play, I'm a totally different person because I have a different level of focus versus if I'm on a radio show. I'm not the same person.
But you know what she gives me?
Mm-hmm.
She gives me snooty black person.
And that's who she is. That's who they hired.
And I think that's what kind of turned
Will Smith off. Because Will Smith needed to be
himself.
Accepted. But no, he wasn't being himself. That was his problem. But he needed to be accepted. Will Smith was the person that was creating the hostile work environment he was coming to set knowing everybody else's lines. There are episodes where you could clearly see him
mouthing their lines, right?
Lines. That creates a hostile work environment because now you corrected me. And this show is your
he was the show. I mean,
it was the show. But it's still a hierarchy when you have environments, even when you have a star, there's still director actors. And the stars may then have, he may have been always first on the call sheet, but there's still a certain way that you create that could have made her feel uncomfortable. So
I mean, but I get what you're saying, but the show was built around him, not her, not the rest of the cast.
And that's the problem. That's a problem in show business. It's all about whether you like somebody or not whether they're talented, because there are piss poor talented people who, because people like them, they get more advantages than somebody who is naturally being themselves. That you just, I don't see it. I mean, your personality just doesn't. Well, that's who I am. You want me to be something that I'm not, simply to make you comfortable. And I never agree with that. I can see if you were being an asshole. Now, being an asshole is totally different than you just simply just being a person that's, I want to be by myself. I want to focus. And then when we get back to it, chemistry. If she was the type of person that they could not stand, some of the scenes that they had together wouldn't have been possible. It just wouldn't have been possible. Just like Martin and Gina, like they were, by the end of that episode, because of the behavior between them, they wasn't even shooting on the same sets. That's when something is a hostile work environment. And it was both of them creating that space, and Gina's husband on Offset. Like it was them creating that. I'll say, okay, Gina, Martin, this is hostile. Somebody needs to be fired. And the show wound up being canceled because the show would not have worked without her being there. And it didn't work. It looked stupid. Like it was dumb, her not being there. Why wouldn't she be there? She's been there this whole time. But yeah, so I just want, especially in this entertainment field, and I'm noticing it just in social circles, get you together before you put your drama on somebody else and make them live up to your standards of life. Because often you're not that personal. You're not that, fun-loving. It's fake. You're being something that you're not, and you want me to do the same thing. And I don't agree with that. I don't understand that. And we have to stop. This cancel culture is getting to a space of just not being healthy and it's not realistic. Because we can't just get rid of somebody and they've had a track record of not doing these things, yet somebody who was constantly the baby, he'd have been accused of shooting somebody, and y'all defending this brother. But yeah, it's over because we are half an hour over. So this has been another edition of the Artist Exchange Radio Show. Please come back every Friday. What week are we gone? The week of July the 18th? Is that the right day?
Yes, that's correct. The week of July 18th.
So July the 18th, we won't be here. There's a number of things that's happening. So June the 25th, Black to the Future event. Also, Speak Life Tour, the beginning of that week, the beginning of that day, and then we're going to end it with the Black to the Future event. August 15th, we'll be at the Emerging Artists Off the Rack for Baltimore Fashion Week shows. We'll be displaying our artwork. I'm working very hard on that, so please help me. This, for the month of July, the hours are going to change slightly here at the studio because I'll be doing a summer camp, a jewelry making summer camp at a school off-site. But we'll still be here. We still have our pop-up shops here every Saturday. The 25th, oh my God, I can't do that. The 25th, I need an assistant. I really do. Somebody that's a partner or assistant, whatever. Come on, send me a message. The 25th, we'll be having a pop-up shop here with Jay Nicole and a number of other artists that will be with her. So come on by for that. What else? What else is coming up? Something else is coming up. This Sunday, the AFRAM starts tomorrow. Gay Black Pride is, well, Gay Pride, this is general. Gay Pride will be starting this weekend. What else? The Black Mole Sunday at the garage. Come on out. I'll have a table set up there. And that's it. I'm tired. Tonight, come down to the 8x10. Tracy Jiggets and her band will be performing. So come on out for that. Yeah. Just check me out on social media. Meet me every Sunday at the farmer's market. That's my new gift to myself. I'm going to get out and do one thing for me every Sunday. So at the farmer's market every Sunday, come and join me. Fun. Peace out, people.
Wait. Because I was just scrolling down and all of a sudden Jada Pinkett Head popped up. Yeah. Because they say the FDA has approved a new drug to treat alopecia, which affects more than 300,000 people in a year. I just wanted to put that out there. So
I'm not thinking that shit.
Jada. And they use Jada's image on this. So.
Well, she will sue them too and win. Watch.
And it's a picture from the Red Table Talk. So
sue them, Jada. Get your money. Have a good weekend, people.